Welcome back to Texas Cafe Classics. We are here again with our versions of the food that was served at Floral Heights Cafe back in Wichita Falls, and from about 1953 to 1987. I think the years are right, but it was somewhere along that period of time. My dad owned a cafe called Floral Heights Cafe. 907 Van Buren here in Wichita Falls. 322-0577 was the phone number. It was the first phone number I ever learned, I guess. And he had a pay phone in the cafe. That's the only telephone he had, was a pay phone in the cafe. And he served lunch. He served breakfast starting at 6 o'clock. He served lunch till 2. And for a while, he was open until about 7:30. He would come home in the afternoon about 2 o'clock and try to take a nap if we would let him. And then he'd get up and go back to work. We didn't understand about adult sleep and things like that back then. So it was a hard life for him for a while, and he finally started closing about 2. And he sold the cafe at about 1987, if I remember correctly, and it operated for another 5 years before it finally closed down. The building is actually still there, 907 Van Buren, still standing. And what we're trying to do with our little series here is to kind of recreate our versions, more modern versions, of less commercial versions of the recipes of the food that he served off the steam table at Floral Heights Cafe. And our previous installments have included chicken fried steak and hamburger steak and fried squash and okra and some other stuff. But I thought we'd go ahead today and show you how fried chicken was made at the Floral Heights Cafe. Now, you guys all enjoy fried chicken. Fried chicken is one of the pleasures of being a human being with a mouth. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the only way to eat chicken. I'm not going to eat a fried chicken breast cooked in a skillet. I'd rather have a piece of one of my shoes than that flavorless shit. But chicken, if you can get a good chicken anymore, and sometimes that's a problem with the way chicken is mass produced now, it doesn't have a lot of chicken flavor sometimes. But if you can get a good chicken, fried chicken is the best way to eat chicken. There is no doubt about that. Hands down, fried chicken's the best way to do it. And we're going to show you 2 different versions of fried chicken today. First thing I'm going to do is show you how Daddy made it at the cafe. And he used a breading that was like a 3-part deal. He would flour and then batter and then flour it and then fry it like that. And that's the way most commercial chicken nowadays is prepared. My mother, on the other hand, made a type of fried chicken that is that I've actually had in several places, but they're out east in Carolina barbecue places. And her fried chicken was only rolled in flour once. There was no batter involved in it. And I wanted to show you both types because both are very good. I'm a little bit partial to Mama's recipe myself. And both of these things are very, very simple. So what we do is we're going to start off with this chicken here. Now, this is a 5.9 pound chicken. This is about twice as big as what was called a fryer used to be. It's huge. This would have been back then called either a broiler or a baking hen. But they're selling this as a chicken now. It's a big, nice chicken. It's got a lot of white meat on it. Look how big the breast is. It's a wonderful chicken. And I'm going to cut this up in a way that, first off, maximizes the number of pieces that I get out of the chicken, because that's makes me money. That's what I want to sell off the steam table, is more pieces instead of fewer pieces. And secondly, I'm going to cut them up in pieces that are approximately the same size, so that when I fry them over here on the stove, they are going to cook and be done at about the same time, so that I don't have stuff that's overcooked and stuff that's still bloody in the middle. So that's why I'm going to cut the chicken like I'm going to do it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the wing tips, because these damn things are essentially useless, and I don't want to have to singe them, and because they've got little feathers still clinging to the wing. So now that I've got that cut off, the second thing I'm going to do is cut the pulley bone. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is, because modern chicken places don't serve what's called the pulley bone. And the pulley bone is, it's sometimes called the wishbone. And it's an interesting piece. It gives you, on a normal size chicken, it would give you 3 pieces of white meat in addition to the wings. This is a bigger one, so I'm going to make more pieces of white meat than that. But I want to show you how the pulley bone is cut. What you're going to do is you're going to run your finger up to the end of the chicken's sternum, which is right there. And then you cut straight down. And then you turn the knife, after the skin's all out of the way, you turn the knife and you go straight forward with it until you reach the end of that bone, and then you fold it forward. And now you have separated the pulley bone from the rest of the breast. And if you'll look, I've got a nice fat piece of white meat that's separated from the other 2 breasts. And I'm going to leave the skin on there, because as you're aware, the skin is one of the most important parts of the flavor you will encounter in a fried chicken. Now, I'm going to, I think I'll cut the thigh and the drumstick off now. So I'm going to turn him like this and cut the skin away. Sharp knife helps. And then you lay the leg open just like that and dislocate the femur from the hip and just cut straight down. And now I've got a leg quarter. Well, I don't want a leg quarter. I want, again, separate pieces. So I'm going to find the joint and cut right through there. This gives me 2 pieces of dark meat off of each leg quarter. Do the other side. Cut through the skin. Got to get the skin out of your way. And then, once again, I'm going to pop head of the femur out of the hip and then just cut straight down. Then I'm going to find the joint between the thigh and the leg. And again, I've got 2 nice pieces of dark meat. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my big knife and I'm going to split the breast right down through to the board like that. And I am going to cut the back away because I'm going to fry the back as a separate piece also. Chicken backs are kind of a inexpensive cut, but they do hold a lot of nice flavor, so we're going to go ahead and maintain those as a separate piece. Take the wing off. Top of the wing's a nice fat piece of white meat. And chicken bones are easy to cut through. If you encounter any resistance, just press forward. Don't accept a bunch of sass from a dead chicken. It's not a good thing to do. That's a nice piece for the dog. And then, since I've got this breast and it's this big, I am going to make 2 pieces of breast out of this. Because it gives me another piece to sell, A, and B, it makes the thing cook more evenly. Take the wing off again. There, that's easier that time. Now, I'm going to come through here, split the ribs again. Two pieces of breast.
There's got to be some good hater comments coming through.
Oh, there'll be fabulous hater comments. And I've got enough back for 2 pieces of back. And we're going to take these 11 pieces and fry half of them in one pan and the other half of them in another pan. But first we got to bread them. Okay, so now we're ready to bread this chicken. And what I'm going to do, I told you first, we're going to do the batter style from Floral Heights Cafe. This is exactly the same stuff that we used for the chicken fried steak. It's exactly the same stuff. It's 2 eggs and some half and half. And here's my little half and half pitcher. And I take a fork, I break the yolks, and I'm just going to whisk them with a fork like you've seen done on all the other cooking shows. All of which are inferior to Texas Cafe Classics, by the way. See a bunch of boring people on cooking shows. Now, notice that on all of our little recipes here on Texas Cafe Classics, with the exception of the chili, the spices are very simple. I'm going to salt and pepper this stuff, and you'll notice that in the chicken fried steak recipe, that's all we used was salt and pepper. In the chicken recipe, we're just going to go hog wild with it, and we're going to put some onion powder on it. And I don't know where the idea came from to put onion powder, but Daddy and Mama both cook fried chicken like this, and it just is a nice little touch. And I'm not going to just paint these things with onion powder. I'm going to put a little bit on there. And I'm going to do both sides while the chicken is on the board because it's easier. Now, a lot of times what I will do if I'm making this at home is I will salt, pepper one side, then put that side face down in the flour and salt and pepper the other side while I'm breading it. But this makes for a better presentation, I think. And I'm going to do both sides of each one of the pieces of chicken. With the salt, the pepper, and the onion powder. Now this is the only seasoning the chicken's going to get, okay? And it's almost difficult to over-salt fried chicken. Fried chicken, kind of like pork, benefits from more salt than you think it needs. And just a light touch on the garlic. I mean the onion powder here. I don't like the flavor of garlic in fried chicken. Some people put it in the spice mix, but I'd rather just do it like this because this works very well. All right, so now we're going to bread the first batch. And this first batch we're going to bread is going to be the batter version of the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a leg, a thigh, and a breast quarter, since I'm going to have two of those. Per pan here. And I'm going to cover the chicken in flour for the first dredge. And then I'm going to dip it in the batter. And this looks just like what we did with the chicken fried steak. I'm going to put that back in the flour so that more of the flour sticks to it. That's the main effect of the batter, is to make a really a bigger looking piece of chicken. It increases the apparent size of the piece. Then I'm just going to collect all of these in my little highly useful stainless steel bowl here. And the bottom piece of that chicken's leg is broken. I hope that didn't hurt too bad. Yeah. And there we go. Now we've got leg, breast, and thigh. We need a wing and a back. This is such a big chicken that there's enough meat on that back to where he's actually worth cooking. Now, 3-pound fryers, you'd usually throw the backs away unless you're just poor folks. I've known poor folks that bought backs and ate backs. But we're wealthy here at the Asgard Company, so we're not going to do that. This is Mama's fried chicken, and this has got no batter on it. All this has is flour, and it's a lot easier to do. So here's Mr. Back. He goes in there first. He goes in. You got to make sure, since there's not any batter to help him, you got to make sure you thoroughly floured all of these pieces. Now there is part of the breast. And here's a wing. Just a wing. And other half of the breast. And you'll notice that these things are approximately all the same size. There's a little bit of variation, but nothing like it would have been if I had if I'd cut the chicken up into the traditional 3 breast pieces. I had to split those in 2 because those would have been a cooking problem. The thighs look a little bigger, but they're flat, so they cook real fast. So they're not ever a problem. And finally, look at this beautiful pulley bone. Beautiful pulley bone. You guys never seen a pulley
I've never heard of them. I mean,
I
I've
know.
heard of the bone.
Nobody does it.
Isn't that just the piece of the breast?
It is a piece of the breast.
Okay.
The bone, the wishbone, the pulley bone, is actually, anatomically, that's the furcula in a fowl, the furcula. Just so that you know that I know, okay? Now, it's time to put these things in the grease. Okay, I have prepared 2 deep skillets. These are called deep skillets. Sometimes they're advertised as fried chicken pans. But they're 3.5 inches deep and about 10 inches in diameter. And I've got about 3/4 of an inch of peanut oil in these things. And this is enough oil to cover the pieces of chicken up about halfway. So this goes in there. And we are probably going to have to cook these things in 2 shifts, because that is full. All right, and this is the battered chicken. This is the Floral Heights Cafe recipe chicken. All right, and in this pan I'm going to do Mama's chicken, and this side is the flour only breading. And here's this regal pulley bone that you didn't know anything about. And here's a wing. So what we're going to do, this is going to take a while. We're just going to let this coast for a while. We're going to pull all of this out. We'll show you what it looks like when we get it out of the grease. And then we're going to cook the other shift, and then we're going to eat. Now we're about through with this. And you can see, now these pieces I'm taking out of this pan right here are Mama style, without the breading. There's not that much difference in their appearance, really. They look they're all the same color because I fried them under the same circumstances, under the same conditions. So they're the same color of brown. But when you get into these things, and start eating this stuff, the difference in the flavor, to me, is significant. I understand why commercial chicken places use the batter. It makes the pieces look bigger. But in my opinion, the flavor's better without the batter. So if you'll just look at this beautiful plate of chicken here. This is one big chicken turned into food for 5 or 6 people. Okay, for not a lot of money. It's very simple to do. This is not like French cooking where you do millions of complicated things before you get to eat. The deal about these pans is the high sides on these pans keep a lot of the grease from splattering all over the room. In a flatter pan, you'd have that big problem. These pans are designed for this, and if you intend to do this, I would advise you to invest in what's called a deep skillet or a chicken fryer. And peanut oil is what I used. You can use whatever you'd like. Peanut oil heats well, and it doesn't smoke, and it produces a nice. This isn't deep frying. I guess this would be called pan frying. Deep frying is when the grease completely envelops the whole piece without having to be turned. So this is pan fried chicken. And I think you'll find, like we are about to, that this is real good. We'll see you next time on Texas Cafe Classics.